This is why most manifestors can't use trending business tactics. And the thing is, it's not just because those business tactics have been built by Sacrals. I'm going to be revealing it all in this little mini training to really truly get you to understand why you don't want to be using whatever the latest hyped business coach, business mentor out there is saying that you need to use in the mastermind that you're in, because there is this thing that we need as manifestors that most of these coaches and mentors are not delivering for us. Okay, let me reveal what that is. Now, if you've seen this before, you may have heard of Robert Dill's logical levels of change, right? This is known as also the hierarchy of change. It has like a few interchangeable ways of describing it. And essentially, it is how we go about deciding to change things within our lives and how we integrate new identities, new manifestation results, how we go about actually up-leveling our businesses can also be applied to this same very well-known model. So if you're not familiar with it, let me just quickly take you through. So essentially, spirit is our like almost like limitless nature. Like it's our invisible assistant, it's also our highest purpose, it's our link to the universe as far as kind of manifestors go, you know. Then you have identity. Now, this is very obvious. This is who we are, right? This is who I am, and I am level. I am Teddy. I am a business architect. I am a manifestor, right? This is our chosen personality because it is chosen. We get to choose who we are at an identity level. Then you have the beliefs and values, okay? This is what we believe and what is important to us. This could be our moral values. This could be the belief that we are a manifestor. It could be the belief that we believe that we get creative urges down, that we believe in a particular religion, that we believe in, you know, the law of attraction. It could be that simply that we believe it's going to rain today. You know, it can be very superficial things, but it can also be really deeply valued, ingrained things that almost feel like part of our own identity. Capabilities then is our actual skills and knowledge. These are the things that you learn, right? These are the things that if you're a line one like me, you eat up, right? It's like this ability to really absorb everything around us and it become part of our internal knowledge bank. You know, this becomes like our own digital library in our brains, and it actually turns into things that we're very skilled at. This is going beyond just simple knowledge that we can retrieve, but we can actually go on to use that knowledge in a certain way. Then comes our behavior. So this literally comes from that skill set, that knowledge, those beliefs, that identity, right? It determines our actions, our daily actions, and the habits that we have as well. You know, the reason why you always wake up at 7 a.m. with your alarm, that's a habit. You could wake up at any time, you know, whether or not you even have an alarm. It's like you may still start waking up at 7 because it becomes a habit. The actions that we take in our business every day, like the way that we structured how we do things and how we go about, like when we answer our emails, when we reply to DMs, if we reply to DMs, you know, these all like are shaped by what we believe our capabilities are and what we believe as well that, you know, what our value is and our identity, and it comes ultimately down from spirit. And then finally, environment results. So this is what we actually see in our reality. You know, this is what the 3D is actually made of. So if I believe that I'm a seven-figure earner and I have that in my identity and I build the skill set around that and I take daily actions towards it, then my external results will show that I am that person. You know, I will have that 6, 7 figure results and beyond. So this is where our environment, our 3D reality actually starts to reflect what all the rest of it before it actually means. Now, the thing is, most people, let's pick a really popular topic like let's lose weight over summer, will try and do behavioral things to try and impact their environment, their results, right? So, in order to have a beach babe body, I will put in new exercise habits, new exercise skills, new exercise things in order to do that. And maybe I'll go and learn like a new routine, but for the most part, we tend to see that most people in the world sit within this. Some people may not even sit within this. Like they may like not even change their behavior and just expect results, which obviously doesn't happen. But most people tend to sit in these parts. They never even get to these bits. But the truth is, when it comes to really impacting change within our lives, we actually really see the model like this. It's actually what we get downloaded from spirit impacts our identity, our chosen identity, which then impacts the values and beliefs that we have, which then allows us to upskill in the areas that we need, which then makes us change our behaviors, our daily actions, and that then provides the results. So when it comes to you really looking at wanting to upgrade your business, what generally happens is that, you're not the type of person who's going to sit here or here, right? Not really. Like you're beyond that, right? As a manifester, you've maybe been in the self-development world for a while, personal development world, whatever. You're probably not, it's more than this. It's more than just changing your daily actions. What we normally end up doing is we end up investing in capabilities, skills, right? Let me go learn how to do social media content. Let me go and invest in a course that is about how to use AI. We tend to, when we want to change our external results, we tend to invest in our capabilities, our skill set. Now, some of us will go further and try to go for programs that hit our values and our beliefs, that actually give us a valuable thing that sits beneath it, that changes who we think we are, that really impacts our belief system around whether or not we're capable to do the thing that they say we do. And most sacral based programs and courses out there sit within these two levels, okay, and trickle down into behavior. They basically breach on the beliefs, showing you of what's possible. Their marketing is in this place of this is who you could become. It pretends to be dressed up as identity. It's not. It doesn't actually change who you are. It actually changes you at a belief level. But it's phrased like identity, but it really truly is belief work. It's around changing your values towards things. It's around showing you that actually you need to value posting consistently on social media above everything else in order for you to then learn the skill set of how to post every day, and for you to then actually post every day, and for you to then see the results of what happens when you post every day. You see how it works? It's like it hasn't actually changed you at an identity level. It's changed what you believe is possible for you. And most business programs out there do that. Like most training, most business trends, most courses out there, most of the stuff that I've personally encountered in the business mentor and coaching world actually sits within here. And some of them don't even sit up there. Like, to be honest, like we talk about old school coaching and mentoring only from like 2024, most of the time it sat here. It sat behind change your behavior, and it would go into capabilities. Like even then, to be honest, capabilities could be sometimes a bit lacking. Like they would not necessarily teach you all the skills at a deep enough level in order for you to change that knowledge into a skill. They would teach you the knowledge, but it wouldn't become a skill. They wouldn't show you how to implement it so it actually did become a habit, a daily way to change how you're doing things in business so that it could actually reflect in your environment, in your results, in your external reality. Now, I would say in 2026, we are seeing more of it being in this area where they are talking a lot. All the marketing these days talks very heavily towards you at a belief level, what you believe is possible, what you could do if it's like your dream reality, what it could look like. Come and see what this is possible. Come and follow me because I'm modeling this behavior. It sits in this level instead. And yes, we are seeing a lot more of there not being this knowledge transfer anymore, because AI can give us the knowledge, right? We can go into ChatGPT and type it in, or go into YouTube and watch a video, and it will teach us the knowledge. So what we're seeing now is that there's this shift in the market where people are starting to actually train the implementation out. And they do that through impacting our values and our beliefs again, right? This is highly valuable because I'm not just teaching you what you need to know, I'm teaching you how to go about doing it, right? You must have seen that marketing out and about. Now, what happens then is we're starting to see, and I'm seeing this more towards the mid end of 2026, right? We're starting to see slowly, I'm starting to see a few people out there actually starting to reach the identity level. Okay? But these are few and far between. Them actually realizing actually it's not just about showing them what's possible. It's actually we need to change who they think they are. And we need to embed that so deeply that it automatically ripples out into their belief system. And then because their beliefs have changed, the way that they implement the knowledge is also different in their business. And they'll not just learn from me, they'll go and learn from other people in order to increase their capability. And they'll actually go in and become that dreamy client who actually goes out and implements the work, but does it in their own way, because their identity's changed. They have the confidence. It's not just copying my model anymore. It's actually them having identified who they are and changed who they are at an identity level, that they will go and take what they've learned from me and they will create their own belief system and their own capabilities and fill their own gaps around it. And they'll do it in their own way. And that then shapes the behaviors that they're doing in business, because they now know that they can lead with their own identity and the rest will ripple down. And that is what ultimately gets them the results that they want. But as I said, it is rare to see that. They're starting to get it. It's starting to filter through. But here's the thing. There is a much more effective way of doing this. You've got your whole spirit level up here that literally no one in the market is hitting. Or if they are, they're not doing a very good job of it. And this is the problem that we have as manifestors in business, taking all the latest business trends, the tactics, the strategies from very well-meaning business coaches and mentors, because they're still trying to catch up with actually pulling ourselves up this level of change, right? Like most of them are, like I said, I was sat around here. I'm starting to see a few that are starting to go here. I'm not really seeing any that are up here. But the thing with a manifestor is that we're so ahead of the curve that when we get an urge to go and change our results, our environment, and we know it can't just be at behavioral level, we know it can't just be about skill set and knowledge, we know it needs to sit higher than values and belief, we know it needs to hit a certain identity level, we need to change who we freaking are. We don't get that level of depth from them. So we end up investing in programs that sit more around here when what we actually need is something up here, because again, we're ahead of the times, right? The things and the urges that are coming down, they're coming from a spirit level. They're coming from the 5D anyways. So in order to have stuff that supports us, to put that in practice, to put that in place, in order to help us get our urges out into the world that are spiritual in nature, we need spirit and identity based support, right? Because we're human and because most of the training out here is down here, and what we're used to having and what we've got in our library bank of business stuff over the years is down here. Because like I said, it's slowly improving, but it's been taking its time in the business mentoring and coaching world for them to actually catch up to what we actually need in order to get quicker results. But what we actually need is up here. This is the level of support that we need. This is where true transformation actually lies. Because you've got to remember, things that happen at a spirit level or energetic level or 5D spirit level is going to have a bigger trickle down effect and a quicker way to get the results than if we do one of these, because these will always stop us. These always have a capping point on what our results can be. You come straight down from here, all the way down, there is no limit here. So here's what's really interesting. Without me even realizing, everything that I do or have been producing recently has actually sat in this level up here, right? And because I was before my time so far as kind of the marketing side of things goes, I've been talking to this way more than this for years. And funnily enough, it's been tricky for people to get on board with it, to understand it, because they're so used to being marketed at in this level. So what I'm seeing now is I am getting clients coming through who actually do want this, the values, belief, identity work. And what I'm doing and what I'm showing them is actually I work at this level or these levels up here. I'm like one step above. And that's why when people come into my world, they get quicker results, more impactful results, because it trickles down. It trickles down from spirit. And that makes a huge, huge difference in the level of impact that it has on them. So, for example, when I talk about the MOS, right, the Manifestor Operating System, when we actually start with M1 and reclaim in the MOS, the bit that we're actually starting with is spirit. We really go back to your business mission, right? That's your spirit coming through. That's your spirit. That's you connecting with spirit, with the universe, with God, with your mission here on earth. We're hitting it at a spirit level, because if you can understand your business from a spirit level, you'll get much better and quicker results, because everything trickles down from spirit level. And then we start to move through, you'll see that the MOS framework actually then starts to hit identity. So we start at spirit and it actually goes down. And I hadn't even realized, this is what I've been channeling literally for years, is that we start at spirit. We start at identity. We're starting at these points here with reclaim, when we're reclaiming our identity of who we are, of how we show up as manifestors in the world, of being a manifestor being a damn good thing. And we're actually changing our belief system around what it means to be a manifestor. And we're actually starting to have a look at what we value in our lives, what our morals, what our belief system is towards rest, and how we show up in business and how we design our business, and that being okay. And as we go through then the rest of the MOS framework, and at a high level, that the next stage being own, we're then owning who we are. We're owning our identity. We're then allowing it to show through by communicating what our new beliefs are, what our new values are out into the world. And then we're starting to move into capabilities and behaviors, right? Then we're starting to actually move into, well, this is how I actually write and do social media content, how I do marketing and messaging. And actually I have a few bits of skill that are missing here. I want to be really micro specific in what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is actually coming from spirit. So I need to find a way to translate that for people who are actually more at this kind of level, but I channel everything at this level. And that's where it becomes a skill gap, capability gap. And so I find myself normally in the own stage of really helping people through their capabilities, through their skill set. I fill in the knowledge gaps too, so this is very much around teaching things from a manifestor-led perspective. You'll hear me speak about that a lot, and you'll see me speak about that a lot in my external marketing, in my public-facing marketing, because most people are sat here. If I literally market externally up here, it's hard to get people in, because they're so used to what's currently in the market, and they believe they want the capabilities. They believe they want the values and belief. It's rare that they believe that they need the spirit and the identity work. And you have to meet your people with where they're at, right? With what they believe their problem is. So you won't see me speak about these levels much, but you will hear me speak a lot about these. And when we reach lead, which is the final part of the MOS, that is really about capabilities. It's really about how to do funnels, strategies, setting out your offer suite, offer towers. It's really talking about how do we use AI tools. Well, really then increasing your capability, your knowledge, but also your skill. Because I don't just sit there with knowledge and saying, well, this is how we do it as a manifestor. I help you learn how to integrate it, how to actually put these things in practice in your business. When we talk about, setting up an AI agent, we're talking about how to actually implement it in your business and whether or not it's the right thing for you to do. And it all floods back from up here. And because at the very start of the MOS system, we're sitting up here with spirit, with your business mission, what my actual business mission is, it then becomes really obvious what to do here. What skills and knowledge do I need in order to fulfill my business mission? In order to be the woman who is X. In my case, the business architect for Manifestors. It like becomes really, really easy to understand and see that. And then ultimately, of course, once we've worked out what systems you need in place, how to go about leading your people, how your offers should be designed and come in. Once we've done all of that work, because it's so obvious from everything that's come before it, it then becomes the daily business behaviors, right? It then becomes, well, it's obvious what I'm doing day to day. It's obvious, of course, I've got preventative rest, I'm not just resting when I feel like I'm tired. I'm actually very intentionally putting rest within my daily habits so that I have the ability to do this other work. So I can channel spirit down, so I can get my urges down, so that I can move my urges forwards using the new skills that I've learned around how this works as a manifester. And now I know how to do it. So, of course, people who go through the MOS, from a manifestor perspective, get the external reality, the result, way more quickly. Because every other business program isn't starting up here. And that's why I realized I catapulted my own personal results in business so quickly. Because I didn't start down here where everyone else was teaching me back in 2024, 2023, whenever I started my journey, when it came to actually deciding to be a manifestor in business and actually fully embracing it, people were teaching this stuff. And I was like, there's more to this, there's a depth to this that people are not understanding. I started up here. And that's now what I teach through the MOS, the Manifestor Operating System. And that is the problem that you're having with all the latest business trends, courses, etc. that you're taking right now, is that they're not sitting at a high enough level. And you know that as a manifestor, you feel that as a manifestor, like there's a depth missing here. It's like it always feels like you may have enjoyed the program, you see the benefit of it, you're like, I get it, but now I'm gonna have to spend some time translating it for me as a manifestor. And that translation piece exists because they've only ever taught it to you at these levels. It's very rare that it's taught at these levels, and so we have to go back and do these bits. But the best part is that when you come and work with me in the MOS, we're doing those bits as well. We start here, so it becomes so much easier to then get your environment and results in a really, really quick way because you're not having to do that translation piece on your own. That's why my clients get results so quickly. Now, what's really interesting as well is when we have a look at my mastermind, the initiators. I want to give you like this really specific example so you can see how this works and how, this is actually truth that I'm talking about, when it comes to the urges that we channel down. So the initiators, if you're not familiar with my work, is my mastermind. It is what I call a legacy urge. So if we have like different levels of urges that come through, we have our micro urges, which are like little things. We have our macro urges, which are like bigger things. And then we have our legacy urges that are like, these are going to be here for freaking life. Like they're never going anywhere. I'm always going to have a form of the initiators for the lifetime of my business. Like it's always going to exist. It's not going anywhere. And the initiators is is that legacy urge, right? Now, what's really interesting is the initiators, where it starts again. So obviously it is the breakdown of the moss, but where it starts again is up here. And I realized I've always advertised it mainly at an identity level and a values and belief level. And in fact, I very, very clearly marketed this is not about learning new things. This is about integrating what you know. This is about changing who you are and really understanding things at an identity level. And here's where it gets super cool. The reason why I've always done this is because if you have a look at the initiators human design chart, this is the urges chart itself. This legacy urge came down with only 3 centers defined: the G center, the throat center, and the emotional solar plexus. But if you look at where it actually has some of the most lit up area, it is the G center. It has the most definition here. And actually, even a lot of its gate placements speak to identity based things. And what is the G center known for in human design? It's your connection to spirit. It is the portal to spirit. And the other placement that it has most lit up is the throat center, which for us as manifestors, we know is the manifestation center. It's where we speak things into reality. It's why we're called manifestors. So when you come into the initiators, my mastermind, what you're mostly getting is spirit and identity. You're understanding how to speak out into the world, how to truly feel into being a manifestor, and how that becomes integrated as part of your beliefs. And the chart is even set up that way. It's not set up to teach you processes and knowledge. It's not set up to deal with your fears or to help you produce money with ego-based tactics, to show you how to release stress and pressure, to show you how to hustle hard like a sacral would. Like, none of those centers have a lot of definition in. It does have some emotional aspect. It will support you emotionally to move through things. It has that 1222 connection, right? But ultimately, it's here to change who you freaking are. Not just an identity level, but at a spirit level, because it is the G center and because it's so deeply connected to the throat center here, which is what makes this manifestors, what makes this so juicy for being a manifestor, right? You will see even the arrows that it has up here, PHS, right? They all point right. It is a feminine container, feminine energetics. It is manifestation energetics. It is super boosted by the fact that things get to be not done in the head, not done in the mind, but felt through the body, felt through energetics. That's what makes this container so special. And what I think is really interesting with this is when you think about it, that's because it's mainly, actually, I should move this up. It really sits up here. Because the first part where it's starting with teaching the more system is it's teaching you spirit. It's teaching you how to reconnect with the spirit of being a manifestor, with the energetics of being a manifestor, and the things that I'm teaching you and I'm training you on is around that 5D aspect, the spirit realm aspect, the part where I go, forget everything that you've ever been taught about business, about how to describe your business, about how to do your elevator pitch for your business, and let's go back to the freaking start, to the original divine mission that you were given of why you created this business in the first place. Let me help you remember what that is, and let's fully ingrain it, and let's translate it into your new identity. Literally, M1, the first month within the initiators, is all about this work. It's about integrating and understanding what your business mission is, how it relates to your soul purpose, and also making sure that your identity is firm in it. because anything else that happens in business, anything else that comes afterwards, is set on a really freaking solid foundation. It makes you completely unshakable in business because no matter what happens in your external reality, you have everything above in place in order to support it.